2022 is just around the corner, and it means we have to upgrade our strategy on how to get new clients or how we want to start online nutrition coaching in the new year. And I'm not sure if you're anything like me, but I'm already seeing oh my God, the gym is going to be so crowded. And I even see reels now where people make fun of all the excited new people who actually want to change their lives. The problem is, if we notice it and it's a pattern, all the other coaches out there also want to do this. And if you're relatively new, you might think, oh, who am I to actually try in this craziness to get a new client? But fortunately, we are here. We have got you covered. We have Christie here, and she's going to talk about how to get leads for the new year. We have Laura. She's going to share with you how to build engaging and super interesting posts to nurture those leads. We have Hilde here.
Not Laura.
that Laura for me, it's this Laura. Hilde is going to share with us how to turn engaged followers into new clients. Matthew, at least from my perspective below me, is talking about coaching packages and especially how to create coaching packages so clients will never want to leave. And then Laura is going to share some powerful questions because in the first few weeks, everyone is excited about nutrition change. And then things get stuck and icky. And Laura is going to share some really cool questions and approaches on how to help our clients moving forward. But I have talked a lot and I want to jump into the content. I'm starting with Christie. And Christie, we want to talk about getting leads for the new year. And before we jump into this, I'm actually curious, can you tell us a little bit more how you have developed some of these strategies and maybe some of the mistakes you have made?
Sure. All of the strategies that I'm going to talk about today were built during my own health coaching business. And as a health coach, 95 to 99% of my clients came directly out of my Facebook groups. And now as a business coach for health coaches, it's about the same percentage. And so everything I tell you is proven and it's not a trend. It's just good old-fashioned foundational advice, tips, and tricks. And one of the mistakes I made early on in my business was I was talking at my audience instead of inviting them into a conversation. And I see this happen with a lot of health coaches, especially new coaches, because we're so passionate about what we do. And what ends up happening is we sound really preachy and better than our ideal clients. And of course, we never want to come off that way, but it's something to always look at if you're not getting the engagement that you think that you should.
Yeah, I love this. And I just checked. So we have already Leslie and John here. So thank you so much for being here and already engaging. And I want to make sure that everyone gets the most out of this conversation. So I want to cut right to the interesting part. So let's imagine, Christie, you're a completely new coach and you want to get 5 new clients in the new year. How would you start getting leads?
Yeah, so I have 5 suggestions for our viewers. Suggestion number 1 is show up ACV. And this isn't apple cider vinegar. This is show up authentically, consistently, and with valuable content. Where you get to choose your platform. Think about where your ideal clients are. And if you're new to this game, choose 1 or a maximum of 2 platforms. Don't try and go out there and be on YouTube and Instagram and Clubhouse and Facebook and Pinterest and whatever all the other ones are that I don't know about. My 2 focuses these days are Facebook and Instagram. So that's step number 1, show up authentically, consistently, and with valuable information. Number 2, plan your content and your schedule. Set the bar really low. And what I mean by that is, again, don't say that you're going to show up and post 10 times a week. If you're not posting at all, maybe 2 times a week is setting the bar low. And when that feels easy, then add more layers onto it. And the things that are really working these days are live streaming. And also on Instagram, reels and carousels are getting the most reach because that's what people are consuming the most of. Okay, step number 3 or tip number 3 is know your niche or niche. You got to be talking to one person, that ideal client of yours. Talk to their pain points, help them overcome their objections to hiring you. And remember that niche is rich and broad is broke. Number 4, build your online community and your email list. I can't say this enough. Build your email list. The money is in the list. And you got to start nurturing that list from day one. It doesn't matter if you have 3 people on your email list or 30,000 people on your email list. Your success in January begins right now in the off season. And for those of you that have courses, your off season begins the day after you close your cart for enrollment on your course launch. You always got to be thinking the next launch is right around the corner. And then finally, ask for referrals. If you already have clients that love you, the easiest way to get more clients is from your existing ones or your past ones. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. What do you think, Robin?
I love it, especially I saw the reaction from Hilde because of the email list, how important it is. We are not going to dive into this, but
no, I don't. We don't have the time.
But what I really love, so I see Sheer War. If I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm sorry. She's from Connecticut, and she mentioned she's looking to find new clients and offer an environment that they don't want to leave. So I am promising you, Christie has already started us off with some really solid tips, and we're going to dive much more deeply into this. And we have Kim here who mentions some great coaches are here, and I cannot disagree. So I'm super, super grateful that all of you have made time for this conversation. One of the things, Christie, that stood out for me was create valuable content, and also the idea of carousels and reels. So Laura, I want to move a little bit into the copywriting thing, because it's easy to say create valuable content, but creating valuable content is much more difficult. So from your perspective as a copywriting genius, how can coaches start today with some practices or some ideas or some approaches so they are ready now in the off season to build the list, to build the followers?
Well, first of all, just start, right? Just show up, just be willing to show up messy, just be willing to show up consistently, just be willing to show up authentically. I actually saw something the other day and it was like, be willing for it to be cringy at first. Like, it's okay. Like, be willing for it to be cringy at first. That's okay. When I first started doing video, I actually made a commitment to myself to make 100 sucky videos, right? Because I knew, I was like, well, if I make 100 sucky videos, I won't suck at video anymore, right? And so first of all, just do it. And then I think some of the best advice is to keep it really simple. Mm-hmm. And here's what I want you to do. If you take nothing away from me today, take this. Solve specific problems. That's how you create valuable content. If you go into creating a piece of content, knowing the specific problem that content is solving. Remember, business is problem solving in general. That's what we're here to do. We're here to solve problems for people. So if you just don't overwhelm yourself with, I have great formulas that I teach. I have all of that stuff. If you just start with, you know what, I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm just going to show up consistently. Like Christie said, I loved all of her tips. I'm just going to show up consistently. I'm just going to show up authentically. And I'm just going to solve specific problems for people. That it's really all you have to do to see a lot of momentum by January.
Yeah, one of the things that I used early on was I always made a little story about what I bought for my weekly groceries, and I marked one item and just told people why I bought this. And
yeah, grocery shopping's overwhelming for a lot of people when they start getting healthy.
And if we want to talk about cringy videos, my very first YouTube video is also still on my channel. So if you want to see a cringy video, I invite you to scroll all the way down.
We all have them. We all have them.
Yeah, we all have that.
Go for cringy. I say embrace it. Like, just go for, you know how, and I know we have a sales coach here, but you know how sales coaches will tell you to go for no? You know, like just talk to people till you hear no. I say go for cringy.
Yeah. But also it helps you to see how far you have come. You can look back like 12 months ago and I see, oh my God, I really made that. And you see how much you have improved since then. So you always have, you can track your progress also. There's a motivational.
I think it's also, oh, sorry, Hilde, there was a delay. I apologize.
It's fine.
I think that's great. I love what you're saying, Hilde, about like being able to go back and see how far you came, because sometimes we forget and then we lose sight of where we came from. So we feel so bad about where we're at when really we've made a ton of progress. So I think that's great. But Laura, I just had one other thing to layer onto what you said, because I totally agree. Like, we need to really simplify how we're talking about these big concepts so that our people can feel like they can actually digest it and do something with it, but also so that we have the ability to actually give them the breakthrough we showed up to give them. Because a lot of the time when we start talking, we're so passionate and we don't really have that end destination in mind. We just go, right? Especially in the beginning when we're not used to speaking succinctly, just off the cuff. We just get carried away. So something that I like to teach my students is give them the breakthrough first and then build upon it, so that even if your people show up for 10 seconds and then swipe away, you know that they walked away with the breakthrough that they came here to get from you. So anyways, I love what you said.
What a great way to hook people in, right? You know, attention spans are so short. I was watching a YouTube video the other day and she had a really good analogy. She's like, people don't have the attention span of a goldfish anymore. They have the attention span of a fetus of a goldfish, right? It's so tiny. And so I love what you say about that, because if you give them the breakthrough right away, that's what's going to hook them in and actually make them want to watch more and not swipe away. So that's a great tip. Thanks.
Now we have cringy videos, but we are active and we show up with all the hand wavings that we have. Now we have people who start making comments. Maybe they're even responding to our stories. Hilde, can you give us some tips on how can we draw them in more and more so we can eventually maybe offer them a discovery call?
Well, I always say networking is the most important thing that you do, because statistics shows that 2 out of 10 inquiries that you have end up in a sale. So if you aim for 5 new clients in January, that means that you have to speak to approximately 25 to 30 people about your offer. So that's the statistics. So I always say you have to nurture the relationship that you have with your already engaged audience. And I always say also to my clients that try to just book a call, not with the sale in mind, with the intention to sell, but just try to have a conversation to hear more about them, what kind of struggles they have, and you do not have to be salesy or be annoying, because many people are so afraid of being annoying and salesy. But just try to make friends, because they end up being the most loyal audience and clients over time. So start with your network. But I'm very glad it in statistics. So it's very mind blowing, and I know that for a fact because I've worked in sales for 10 years now, and I have to work my butt off with no sales for so long before I finally got any results, and then they all just like came at me all at once. So it's all about the network, guys.
I love it. And I want to dive a little bit deeper in a second, but we have some really cool comments. So Leslie said, in response to the attention span, I despise when videos drag out the punchline. I guess that says something about my attention span. And Leslie, I'm right there with you. One of the things that I hate the most is when creators say, oh, and the most important tip is at the end. So make sure that you watch all the way to the end. And I know it's just for getting view time. So I'm right there with you. And she actually is ready to be cringy. So hopefully in a good way. But Hilde, I want to dive a little bit deeper. So can you share a little bit more? How can we open a conversation, for example, on Instagram, social media, or crazy enough in real life to build some of these this network? Because I feel like these first couple of words can be the most difficult, and that actually make the difference between being cringy in a positive way or being just annoying.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
go ahead.
It's quite difficult, especially for those who, like, where conversations do not come, like, it's not like that normal, like for those who are introverts, for instance, like they're very scared of like talking too much. But I always say to those who are afraid to like asking questions, just ask questions that starts with how, what, who, to get the person in the other end to start like talking, because it's the most easiest thing in the world to make people talk about themselves. Mm-hmm. People love to talk about themselves, but you have to ask questions that doesn't get the person at the other end to get the option to say yes or no. So make them describe a situation, or how are you feeling, or how are you today, or just like ask questions about them, ask questions about their business, like how did you get started with your business? I see that you're passionate about nutrition. What got you into nutrition, for instance? To just ask questions that are open questions, so the person in the other end can talk about themselves.
Ooh, I love this. And Laura, I'm curious. You also had an idea, so let us know what you thought.
Well, I think I misunderstood your question, because I was thinking, like, how do we get them to reach out to us from our content, right? So that
perfect
initial reach out. And so that's kind of how I interpreted the question. And so I guess I'm asking and answering a separate question. But, one of the things that I've shared before, but is so powerful, I think it's important to share again, is, go ahead and speak it. Say, these are the pain points. These are what you're struggling with, or these are the problems that I'm solving. And actually say, I'll do this a lot. I'll say, I'm thinking of creating something for this. Type blah, 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 if you'd be interested. Or Robin, you do this really well in your Instagram stories, where you say, do you want to hear about this, or do you want to hear about this? Or you start, and to Christine's point, you start that conversation with them really early on in the process, and you get them involved in, I call it hand-raising content. So it's content designed specifically to get your ideal client to raise their hand and say, yes, that's me. I want that thing, long before you ever make that offer. And so then by the time that you're actually making that call to action to, this is my offer, send me a DM to learn more about it, they've been kind of hungry for it for a while. And so that's what I wanted to share there.
I think that's a great point too, because I feel like a lot of times when newer coaches are looking to get clients, it's like almost a desperate search for that client. And so they want to skip steps. But what I found is the longer that you actually build up that value with someone, and like you said, Laura, like, you know, that kind of pent up demand, as I've heard it called, when you do eventually open the doors, like with Christie, it's like she said, after the course cart closes, off season begins, and she's building up demand all the way until the cart opens again. And I think a lot of people skip that because they're so desperate to get that first client that they want to jump straight to, how do I just make it happen? How do I just get the offer in front of somebody? And then it ends up cringy because they rushed.
Did anyone just hear Matthew say, don't skip the foreplay?
No, let's skip the foreplay. Beautiful. I don't think that was my exact words, but that's definitely
that's what I heard.
I think too, it's really important to understand that the client buying journey is just increasing, and we have to be respectful of that. We cannot rush that, because as soon as we try and push it faster than it naturally wants to evolve, we lose them and we will never get them back. As soon as in their mind they've decided, I can't trust them, they're gone. And that's fine. You're going to lose people in your trial and error and figuring out what flow works best for you. But just understand that we need to get to know really intimately the people that are coming into your world and how long they need to warm up to you, so that you can respect that journey and know when someone new comes into your world, we don't pounce right away. We give them a bunch of really juicy things because we know that is going to speed up their buyer journey. That is going to get them into your world in a more intimate way and will allow you to have more intimate conversations. And to Hilde's point, I think the intimacy, and I plan to speak to this in a little bit, the intimacy of how we're really holding people and making them feel safe at every point of the client journey, long before they ever pay you, is where the sauce is at. Right? People just want to feel safe with you. They want to feel like they can be in your world and not need to buy something right away in order to get value from you. So how can we just like all take a breath and let ourselves relax into who we truly are and what we truly bring to the table, so that when we're having these conversations in the DMs, it's not coming across as pitchy or gross, because you really just truly are showing up as you. You know they're going to be in your world for 3 more months before they buy, probably. So let's just settle in and have an actual conversation with them, so that when the time comes, they trust you. They're ready, right?
Agree.
Oh, that's my wrap.
I want to add on to that, Laura. I always tell our clients that you're going to experience 2 different pools of clients. There's the crock pot clients. They just need to marinate and cook before they're ready. And then there's the microwave clients, where as soon as they find you, they want to buy everything that you have. And both of those types of clients are equally valuable. They both serve really important roles in the community. And so we have to respect every bit of the buyer's journey, like you were saying, Laura. And then also remember, when we serve hard, we can sell easy. Like Matthew said, when you're constantly out there giving good content, there's this pent up desire where your ideal clients are ready to throw their credit cards at you as soon as you say, I have an opening in my private roster. Or for me, our course is launching. We launch once a year, each course once a year. And so people are at the doors just waiting to get in. And that's what happens when you serve from a place of generosity all year long.
And I have actually a question from the comments. So I'm going to put everyone here on the spot. So it's all good and cool and interesting to have these conversations, but you put out a question and then you get crickets, nothing. And that hurts. We all had these amazing, cool posts, and then one like from mom. I'm curious, how are you approaching these kind of posts? Are you just saying stupid idea, or maybe you're trying something else? How are you repurposing or approaching this? And I see Laura's already nervous. Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Like dying to answer this because I was just speaking into this with my students yesterday. Just because someone doesn't validate what you put out doesn't mean it's shit. First off, like, let's look at our relationship with needing validation. I think that that's a really great opportunity to look inwards and go, why do I feel I need someone to validate what I'm saying in order for it to feel worth saying? And at what point do we need to practice patience while we let our own message refine and marinate inside of us? A lot of the time when we're a new coach, especially, you don't know what the fuck you're saying yet. Like, you need time. You got to play with it. You need to figure it out. How does it feel saying certain things? Are you trying to parrot what your mentor said, or are you really stepping into your own with the message and feeling out how to say things in your own unique way? Because that takes time. You're not going to just bang it out tomorrow. You have to be patient with yourself. So I understand fully how engagement can really just be a shot to the gut when you don't get what you expect. But I really challenge you, if that's an issue for you, to invite in a deeper conversation with yourself around needing external validation in order to feel good about what it is that you're doing and how you're showing up. And instead, perhaps continue to show up and use your content as an opportunity in this stage for you to learn and grow, and less so to get clients initially, because a lot of the time when we take that pressure off, our message starts coming out in a much more grounded way, right? So anyways, I could talk, someone else can take the floor. I could talk about this for like 30 minutes.
I actually do want to add to that, because there's a couple of other things here. Number one, also think about the type of post that it was, because one thing that I prepare students for is, I talked about those hand raising posts, put, healthy in the comments if you're ready to get healthy this year, right? A lot of people love to comment on those posts. But when you're digging deep into the emotion and the pain points, people don't necessarily want to comment and be like, yeah, that's me. I'm totally struggling with it. It's really hard, right? They don't necessarily want to say that on social media. And yet, as a copywriter, I've got to tell you, people are much more motivated to take action when they're trying to alleviate pain, when they're trying to pull away from a problem, than they are to run towards pleasure. Even though kind of the reverse is true when it comes to social media engagement, right? They're eager to say, yeah, I'm about that. I want that thing, but they're more hesitant to say, yeah, I'm really struggling with that. And so something that I like to warn people is sometimes your highest converting posts, your posts that are really digging into those emotions and those pain points and have maybe really strong calls to action, don't get the best engagement, right? I'll have posts that I can directly see related to DMs in my inbox of people wanting to connect with me about, working together. Maybe that post actually didn't do a lot in engagement wise. And so to prepare, like it's okay if you're not getting a lot of engagement. It doesn't mean people aren't reading it. It doesn't mean it's not doing its job. But then on the flip side of that, I also want to say, you don't get to decide what's valuable to your audience too. Right? So you may pour a lot of time and effort and attention into a post, and they may not be all that about it. And then you may just throw something out there. I actually have an example of this. So in Reels, my Reels that are just like me, direct face to camera, always do way better than if I try to add design elements or captions or, production them up. Right. And so I'm like, who am I to say that my Reels that I've added branding to are more valuable to my audience? I don't get to say that. They get to decide that. So those are just kind of two little pieces I wanted to add.
That's great.
Can I talk?
Right,
I will also say very important points, but I will also like just highlight, what do you do to engage with others? Because I have had so many clients, like they don't talk to people and they expect when they post that people are going to engage on their posts. It's like look at it in this way. Let's say that you're in a friend group with like 6 people. You don't ask a single question about everyone in the room. You don't like, all you do is care about yourself. You expect to be invited for the next party. It's like people want to engage with people they care about. So you have to give in order to receive. And maybe in the beginning, you have to give even more and expect less in return. So ask yourself a question. Are you doing what's required to get engagement, to get people to engage in your post, to like your post? Or are you just posting and expect people to engage on yours?
That's a good point too. Little reciprocity goes a long way. Yeah, I have the quintessential coach answer to that question or comment, which is totally depends. Like, it depends where you're at in your journey in building your audience and nurturing your audience. Like, if it's the first time you put up a raise your hand post and nobody comments, do they even know? Like, if you're like, I'm thinking about putting together a guide to losing 10 pounds in the new year, but everyone thinks that you're still like the architect, they're going to be like, well, no, I'm not that interested in an architect telling me how to lose 10 pounds. Like, does your audience even know what you do? And if not, then they're probably not that interested in getting that content from you. And that's one of the reasons why, especially like for newer coaches, like, just start with your personal network and start talking to the people who already know, like, and trust you. Like, don't beat yourself up because your audience who you haven't nurtured and doesn't know that you're a nutrition coach or a health coach, don't beat yourself up that they don't want nutrition or health coaching content from you yet. Start sharpening your axe, start getting that stuff out there, but start with the people who already trust you on some level.
Yeah.
I feel like Christie is waiting to say something.
Well, I wanted to add on to what Hilde said. I call it engagement karma. And I tell all my coaches this, and I ask them, how many reels have you scrolled through today and not liked or commented on any of them? Maybe 24, maybe 36, maybe 200 if you're really procrastinating. And then when you post your reel and you don't get as many comments or likes on it, why are you confused by that? It is truly engagement karma. And what goes around comes around. Plus, you got to put out good content. So if you put out content and you're not getting engagement, also look at it with childlike curiosity. It's a learning experience of, okay, perhaps my clients didn't like this, let me try this. And it's just looking at different approaches and different types of content and just saying things in a million different ways until you crack the code. Because once you crack that code, you're golden.
Oh, I love this. And we actually had a really interesting exchange in the comments. So Christine, for example, said when she's doing Q&A posts, she's sometimes answering her own question to get people comfortable to share as well. So you have this, oh, somebody else already did the first step. So that's a pretty cool approach. And thank you so much for being honest. And Kim mentioned talking about your lack of healthy habits as a coach is very personal for most folks, but they don't often acknowledge it. So it goes back to the idea of just because people resonate with a post doesn't always mean they are engaging. I mean, I'm laughing at so many reels, but that was funny. Zip. That was funny. Zip. But my karma. So I promise to do better, Christie.
Can I just say on that first comment, I actually had a coach friend of mine who used to message me and say, hey, I put out a post to, offer, oh, I'm doing Q&A, people ask me questions, and he would reach out to me and he's like, hey, would you start them off? Like, would you ask a question to get it going? Because social proof is so important, and nobody ever wants to be the first person to ask a question. So I think that's actually a good tip. Like, if you have a business bestie or a friend and you're wanting to put out some questions or Q&A, I don't think it hurts to say, hey, would you mind starting us off? I think that's a great idea.
And I actually want to also jump a little bit to another topic, because Matthew, we wanted to talk about coaching packages, and related to social media is also the idea of how can I stand out so I'm not sounding and listening, sounding like everyone else. So this authentic self. Can you talk a little bit more about how can coaches start developing a coaching program that is not just everybody else, but actually has a unique tone to it?
Yeah, I think there's really two approaches, and one of them I know that you quite like, which is starting off by right now, if you want to have an amazing standout coaching program and content going into the new year, do market research. Right now in December, line up 10 calls with people who are kind of like the type of person you'd want to work with. And you want to start asking them questions like, what social media are you on? Who do you follow? Starting to get an idea about where to be. And then you can also start asking questions to understand what they want, what they're struggling with. What are your biggest frustrations when it comes to losing weight? What are, your single biggest goals when it comes to improving your health? Like, what are the biggest challenges that you faced when you tried in the past? Understanding a lot about them, you're not only going to get ideas to just absolutely crush it in your content, but you're also going to understand what problems you need to solve. Essentially, what gaping wounds need at least a Band-Aid on it from your program. And then you can create an amazing signature offer, but you can also create amazing content to get people to understand what you're about, so that when you do eventually make that offer to them, it's a home run, what we call a monopoly offer in our program, one where they hear it and there's like, I don't think there's any other solution to my problems. That's it on the nose. And something else that can be really helpful, especially for new coaches in the actual sales process, is just understanding everything that you would be willing to deliver for a client. Like, I teach people how to create VIP coaching programs that are like $500 a month or more. So for most people, for $500 per month, probably only need 15, 20 clients, and you're earning quite a good income. So if you only had 15 to 20 clients, what are all the things you'd be willing to do for 15 to 20 clients? What falls within your boundaries? And if you're on a sales call with somebody and you're taking that time to be curious, understand what their challenges are, what's been standing in the way, what they really want, you can just figure out what within what you're willing to do can address that and can fix that. You can build out the signature program with them. If you ask them a question like, hey, Robin, I'm just curious, do you know what kind of criteria you're looking for in a coach? And then if they tell you, and then that's within what you're willing to deliver, and then you say that's what you deliver in your offer, home run. So I really feel if the way that I approach it, because I'm really about initially building out a solid one-on-one client base that you can charge what we call VIP rates for, it's give them everything they want. Don't hold back in those programs. You're only going to have a few of them. And I know Christie, because my wife did Christie's Courses Made Easy course. Christie talks about how the one-on-one coaching experience allows you to eventually create that content that can serve a lot more people and that you can leverage and get more one-to-many kind of coaching. So that's my perspective on how to create those initial VIP coaching packages, and really how to make sure that someone would feel stupid saying, no, I don't want that.
I could not be happier to hear you say VIP coaching experience. So many new coaches are putting out offers to coach people for $25 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, and they're having trouble getting their clients. And so they think they need to reduce their coaching rates. But a lot of times it's the opposite. And I struggled with that because I kept saying that my ideal client was a woman like myself, had 30 pounds to lose, was a high-level executive, an attorney, an entrepreneur. And yet my rates and my membership back then for health coaching were $10 a month. My pricing did not match my ideal client. And it's so important to look at our messaging and make sure it's aligned with what we charge. So thank you, Matthew, for saying VIP $500 a month.
My pleasure. That's my thing.
I think it's also really powerful how you're speaking into, like, just give them what they want, do the things that they want. And I think there's a huge belief system coming through in the coaching space right now that is causing a lot of coaches to want to like boundary up and protect their energy because they're being told, don't do too much or you'll burn out. Don't be too much or you won't last. You won't be able to scale. And that fear is causing a lot of coaches to not do all the things because they're afraid that they're not going to make it. When in fact, as you said, they aren't seeing the opposite end to that, which is I can have less clients and do more and create more intimate relationships with them. And in fact, in doing so, we'll keep these higher paying clients for longer and they won't ever have to find clients. Like, it's a whole domino effect that they're just blind to because they're too afraid to burn out. They're too afraid to get taken advantage of. So I really, really appreciate your approach with that because that's a dialogue we need to change. It's a conversation we need to have. I think a lot of coaches are falling into this and not even realizing it.
Totally. And I know the most burnt out I ever felt as a coach was when I was on the sales and marketing hamster wheel, essentially not having deep relationships with my clients. And by just trying to automate everything and having no real human interaction with the clients or having that be so limited, that actually burnt me out more than just having a couple amazing clients who were paying me a lot and having those deep connections. And yeah, I think that's a really good point too, is that, coaching, like most people got into this to coach. Like coaching isn't the thing that's going to burn you out. It's like building a business that's not in alignment with how you originally envisioned it is probably the thing that's going to burn you out. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think that's so potent. It's really important to highlight.
I actually had that experience. We talk about, do one-to-one so that you can go into groups or create courses. It was actually a year ago today, I sold out a group coaching program at like 18 people. And then I immediately turned around and sold in like 15 more. And I created a large group coaching program. And I didn't like it. Like, I was like, I want to get to know these people. I want to have one-to-ones. Like, I want to dig into their stuff. And I was like, that's not how I want to run my business. And that's okay too. Like, it's okay if you really crave that deep connection with people. Don't think that you have to be on this trajectory of scaling where you make everything uber efficient.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. We get to design our businesses exactly the way that we want them and the way that just fuels us and fires us up to get out of bed and walk back into our office.
Ooh, I absolutely love this. And I want to jump a little bit more because we had the marketing, we had the packaging, but one of the things that really are going to be difficult in the new year, especially after the new year, new me craziness has ebbed up a little bit, and we actually have clients that realize, I have to eat less to lean out or lose weight, and I have to do this eating healthy stuff thing. Then we have people who are getting resistant to change and just struggling with being consistent. I know, Laura, you have some powerful questions and some powerful ideas of how can we keep clients progressing and how we can help them make these breakthroughs. So can you give us just some of your top tips?
Yes, I was thinking about how I wanted to speak into this because the topic is so vast and I could take it a million different directions. So what I decided to do, just as everyone was talking, I want to tie it together with everyone else's amazing advice, is I want to speak into the true essence of what it means to create a breakthrough, because I don't think people really understand that. I think it's getting lost in translation. We think we need the perfect program. We think we need to be holding them accountable every day. We think we need the perfect questions to ask, but none of that actually matters unless you have this other thing in place first. And this other thing is really intangible, very difficult to tap into, but you already have it inside of you. It's literally learning how to trust your gut reactions, your intuition with your clients. It's learning to trust that you are enough right now, that you don't need the perfect question. Whatever question you ask is going to be perfect in that moment. And recognizing that all your clients really need before they ever become a client and then throughout the client journey is to feel safe and connected with you, to feel intimately understood by you, and to feel like they can be transparent with you. If you don't have that in place, nothing else matters. Literally nothing else. I can give you a list of 100 questions you can ask, and you're not going to get anywhere because you don't trust yourself to ask them, and they don't trust you to answer. So before any of that matters, we need to fix the relationship. We need to fix how you're showing up inside of your coaching sessions. We need to fix the fact that you get frustrated with clients when they don't do the things that you're asking them to do. A lot of the time, and the most potent breakthrough I want you to have from this little snippet is recognizing where you're getting in your own way from creating the breakthrough you know is possible for your client. Our own ego likes to kick on, and it likes to protect us from feeling undervalued, from feeling like we're not good enough, from feeling like we're not worthy to charge what it is we've been told to charge. And in doing so, when our clients aren't seeing immediate results, when they're getting frustrated with their progress, when they're coming at us with text messages that we wish we weren't getting on a Sunday or a really shitty check-in, our ego wants to kick in and push that away. Our ego wants to kick in and say, it's not me, it's them. They don't want it bad enough. But that's not it. That's just your ego trying to keep you in a state of feeling like an authority, feeling like an expert, and feeling valuable. So if you take nothing else away, I want you to start witnessing your ego. Your ego is not the enemy. It's just your identity. It's just the way you see the world. It's just who you are. It's your perception of everything around you. We need to welcome it into the room. We need to recognize where we're reacting to our clients, and we need to start pushing that aside and asking ourselves, is my reaction to their struggle causing them to not talk openly with me about their struggle? Is my reaction to their fear causing them to pull back? Is my reaction to their hesitation causing them to react back to me? And now we're in conflict, we're creating friction. And how can my own understanding of myself and my own ego and how my brain is wired allow me to invite in a deeper relationship with them simply because now I'm a safe place for them? And then from there, you can ask power questions. From there, you can create breakthroughs. From there, you can hold your clients through every stage of the coaching journey. And I tell my students this all the time, it's not even about whether or not you create a weight loss shift for them. That's not it. In fact, many of your clients, you will not be that coach for them. You're not going to be that coach for everybody. We need to release that as the North Star and instead sink into the relationship that's directly in front of us and guide them from that place. Because the truth is you may be a stepping stone on their journey. You may be just one piece of their journey. And that needs to be okay with you. But if you're constantly pushing them to this destination that validates you, you're missing it. You're missing the point. So I know Robin's going to send you a list of power questions that I curated for a lot of different really tricky client scenarios, which is awesome. That's not what I want to talk to you about. I want you to really sit in the truth of how you're showing up in these relationships and what you need to feel good as a coach, and how you can start giving that to yourself instead of waiting for your clients to give that to you. Does that make sense? Does that feel clear?
Yeah.
Super powerful.
It's
Thank you.
one of the most difficult lessons that I learned from big coach Krista Scott Dixon is this: the results of your clients are not your results, and whatever results they have, it doesn't mean they are a good or a bad coach. And I think that's really the essence of what you said. So I love the idea of just letting them go and talk about what is going through their mind, and you're more or less like giving them the opportunity to organize their thoughts, and nothing more, just your presence and listening to them. Because go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think yes, but also when you're in these conversations with your clients, I think the tendency is to fix and teach the problem away. And if we can instead move into a place of trying to better understand how they're viewing the problem, now questions will flow, right? If I'm not assuming that I already understand, and I instead try and better understand through their eyes what they're going through, now I'm asking them what happened in that moment. Who was around you? How did it feel in your body when you got triggered? What was going on in your mind when that happened? Why did we reach for this food instead of that food, right? What's coming up for you right now as I'm asking you about this? What sort of resistance are you facing? And we just get really like nitty gritty with the details. And we try and paint this whole movie about what was going on in the moment where they felt like they couldn't control themselves around food, or they didn't follow the plan, or they made the decision to go out and eat burgers with friends instead of what you had talked about 24 hours earlier. Like, what was going on? I want to understand the way their mind is working and how they're processing their environment. And from that place, your ego can't live in that conversation. From that place, they feel fully understood. And now you have an opportunity to reflect back to them what you're seeing them say, because a lot of the time, what's going on in their head is not what's going to come out of their mouth. And we have a huge, huge opportunity to show them where they're actually getting in their own way. And that is where the breakthrough happens. It's through perspective shifts. It's through shifts in belief systems. It's not in the tools you have lined up to deliver them or the action steps you want to email them right after you hop off the call. That's not it. It's in the space you're holding for them to really understand how they're understanding their own life. Does that make sense?
It
so good. So good.
It absolutely does. We are getting close to the end of our time together, and I see there are still a lot of questions. One of them is from Alexandrina. I hope Matthew answered your question around designing and being confident selling VIP coaching experiences. If not, the recording is available. And I want to actually close the conversation by asking all of you, what is the one takeaway from our conversation? So just for a second, think about what is the main takeaway from this, and I'm going to start so everyone has a little bit more time. For me, it's a combination of many things. It's one part is Hilde's point of having a network. All of this wouldn't be possible if Christie hasn't been or had been so active in the Facebook groups of PN and Matthew as well, and Laura, where we connected. Laura, I learned about you from Nicole. Nicole, I met on another event. So the network is super important, the relationship. And from the relationship, we go deeper to actually seeing the person. And it's not just another DM message that you need to respond, but actually just remembering there's actually a human being on the other end that made the time to message you. And with all of that comes very often over time the clarity of, hey, if I'm saying this, people probably will say, oh yeah, this solved the problem because you actually had this in 20 different conversations already. So it's how all of this is actually connected. It's not just here's a tool, here's a tool, here's a tool, here's a tool. That's my main takeaway from our conversation. who is ready for their takeaway? Christie, go ahead.
I'll go. I just want to put out a big reminder of it's called social media for a reason. So network, have real conversations, talk to people like you just said, Robin, as if they are a human being, because they are. And like Laura was saying earlier with the cringeworthy, I've been telling my clients all week, and I'm going to continue to say it, give yourself permission to suck. Okay? None of us came out of the womb knowing how to do this, and it is all a journey and a learning experience. And when we adopt childlike curiosity about what's working and what's not, we can make this messy journey really fun and, as a business, very profitable. So have fun with it.
That was so good. I'm just amazed by everyone here. And I think my biggest takeaway that I would want to leave someone with, I think that touches on everyone, is to just show up in genuine service and be willing to support and be willing to just care and love up on people and keep showing up and keep caring and keep loving up on people. And that's really the best thing you can do. And I love everyone here and what they said.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I think I can condense it into a short soundbite of know thyself and know thy client. I can explain it if anyone needs, but that's
no, I love that. Mine was going to be very similar. I think that's great, Matt. Mine was almost the same as yours. I think mine leads more to know thyself a bit more, just because that's how I naturally coach. But just know that if something doesn't feel good for you, you don't have to necessarily only do that. There's a million ways to be successful online, and there's a million different caveats to even the strategies we gave you today. Like, just because someone says it doesn't mean you have to do it. Because if you run around collecting all of the strategies from everybody and you try and do it all at once, you're just going to crash and burn. So start somewhere that feels exciting and allow yourself the grace to grow from that place and learn more about yourself in the process.
Yeah, the self experience. Hilde, what about you?
I would say start with your network first and foremost, but also you have to, don't be afraid to show yourself who you are, to show up authentically, and just jump into it, because you have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. So just like accept that you are going to be uncomfortable through this journey, but you can look back on these cringy videos and see how far you have come.
Yeah, I love the sense of humor. I want to end with a couple of comments that came in the last couple of minutes. So Christina said, super helpful, Laura, and Scott also mentioned, Laura, really powerful words from you. Kim mentioned or said, love all the great coaches here, love building my coaching network so much. So Kim, thank you so much for being here. Sheer mentioned the big takeaway for her is focusing on listening what people really struggle with. Again, listening to people, building the relationships. And Sherry also mentioned what a great message from Christie, and Alexandra just in this moment messaged, thank you so much, a very powerful hour. So for everyone who's watching the replay, thank you so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below now. And if you want to hear about more from Christie or Laura or Hilde or Matthew or Hilde, all the important links and all their programs and social media links are all in the description. So I highly recommend you build your network, connect with people, see how other coaches doing their social media, how different their social media looks, how different their messages are. And yeah, I promise you, you will not get crazy, salesy, weird messages from them when you're following them. I promise you. So for everyone, thank you so
weird.
much.
No.
A little bit weird, maybe. A little bit. But no, just cringy. Not weird, just cringy. And for everyone, Christie, Laura, Hilde, Matthew, Laura, thank you so much for taking the time. It was a real pleasure, and I hope everyone has a really good day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Later.
Bye.